The Jesus Trilogy, Book 1, The Four Messiahs, Chapter 2. Mary was a bright young girl, very shy, yet possessed of great intelligence. She had just turned 19 and had graduated last year from secondary school, first in her class, valedictorian, which gave her mother Sarah great pride. Sarah's husband had been a soldier in the resistance army and died in a street battle when Mary was 7. Mary still remembered her father with great pride and cherished those memories to this day. She so wished he was alive to see her graduate. "You think you are smart, don't you?" her classmate Joanna said as Mary walked toward the market in Nazareth, a city of 5,000 people. Mary turned the other way, but Joanna didn't let up. She'd never forgive Mary for beating her out of the valedictorian honor. Mary had a 3.98 average to Joanna's 3.96. Joanna came closer and said, "I've heard some other talk about you, you smart little witch." Mary turned to face her and saw that Miriam, Joanna's close friend, was also there. "I heard from a most reliable source some juicy gossip about our little Mary." She was looking in Miriam's direction. "My sources tell me that you're—" "Enough, enough," Miriam's mother cut her off. "If there is truth to your rumor, it will all come out in time." Gloria, Joanna's mother, said, Come, girls, we must get to the dress shop before it closes." It was almost 5 on the sundial. "We've got to make sure your new dress fits and then get home for supper before your father arrives." Gloria wished the 2 young girls a good evening and hurried off, not wanting to get into any deeper conversation about such subjects, as she too was the victim of gossip, not all of it unfounded. Mary breathed a deep sigh of relief and walked toward the far corner of the square. The sign over the door said Esau's Market. Joanna had been a constant pain in the neck since that graduation day. Before that time, they'd actually been friends, but Josiah, the school stud and star of the football team, had asked Mary, not Joanna, to the senior prom, to which Mary wore her plain white dress. She was a tall girl, 5'8", with soft, fair features, but wore no makeup, nor did she wear jewelry. A real plain Jane, her classmates called her, but on that prom night her natural beauty was shown as never before. This further infuriated her friends. Joanna had money and wore a stunning white dress with threads of gold running vertically through it. She also wore a large gold necklace, dangling earrings, and 3 gold rings. Her dress was low-cut, exposing the upper half of both breasts, but their less than ample size did not allow for significant cleavage, despite the almost painful pressure from her support bra. This compounded her jealousy, as Mary had a near-perfect figure. Joanna knew this all too well from taking showers after phys ed class, but she had one thing Mary did not have: money. And she knew even at this tender age that society paid attention to money more than to any other attribute. She knew she would go far in society, but she still rankled every time she saw Mary and made it a point to put Mary down every chance she got. Mary was a sweet, patient girl and very smart. However, she was aware that society was very class-oriented, and as she was in the lower class, she would never have the chance to amount to much. But she was determined to do the best she could. Some nights she just wanted to talk to her father, but he wasn't there. She had a long conversation with her mother, which helped a lot, but Joanna's sting still hurt at times. Mary brushed it off as best she could. She had prayed and prayed that God would bring her father back, but she knew the old devil had taken him from her, and she wanted revenge. She would just have to trust the wisdom of God. He knew best. The priest had said in his sermon last week that they must trust the will of God. God had allowed certain things to happen, and his people just had to accept them. She knew the pastor meant well, but she also knew the devil was the cause of all evil things, not God. She also knew that God had a plan for everyone who loved him, and that someday all would be well. She had developed a great faith for so young a woman, and she attributed much of it to her father. She hardly knew him, but her mother told her of him often. How brave he was, and how he knew a king would rise up and save all of them from the cruel Romans. What Mary didn't know was the part she would play in all this. Mary, Mary, what do you bring us? Jedediah and Joshua raced to meet her as she came up the dusty road and turned into the walk toward the house. I'm sorry I didn't have time to get you anything, but I did get food for supper. Oh, look, Joshua exclaimed, fish and some good bread. A lot better than the hot dish last night, Jedediah said, scowling. Oh, Jed, brighten up. We all got to be happy, don't we? Jedediah's scowl broke as he looked deeper in the sack and saw them. 3 candy bars wrapped in paper. Mary brought us some candy, he yelled and grabbed for a bar, but Mary pulled the sack away just in time. After supper, me want some candy. Rachel was now toddling down the walk, dirty face and all. Rachel, Rachel, you are a mess. Candy, candy, the 3 kids shouted. Only after supper and you have to eat everything on your plate, Mary warned. Daddy, Daddy, Rachel chirped. Mary, get candy. Her father stopped pumping the foot pedal on the saw and looked down as the child had sweat dripping off her forehead. Mary, Mary, get candy. Tell her I want it now. She was out of breath from running back to his shop. Oh no, honey, you eat supper first. Oh, Daddy, Rachel said as she screwed up her face in a cute little pout, but she knew it wouldn't work. So back came the smile and she ran into the kitchen. Mary had been like a mother to little Rachel ever since she began to babysit for her almost 3 years ago. This is excellent. Joseph took a healthy bite of the smoked fish. You're a great cook, Mary. Yeah, the fish is great, Mom. Jed let it slip. Joseph and Mary looked at one another. I meant Mary, Jed corrected. Can't Mary be our mommy? Joshua now chimed in. Joseph's face turned red, but Mary didn't flinch. Mary is my mommy. Rachel piped up. Enough, enough, Joseph said, raising his voice. Eat, he ordered, getting their minds off that subject. He knew of the rumors about him and Mary. He got funny looks in church and had even lost one customer because of it. The accusations were totally unfounded. There was nothing between them. Joseph had even gone on a few dates to dispel that talk, but whenever he looked at another woman, all he saw was his beloved Rachel. He needed time. He and Mary had talked briefly of it once. He told her he would try to find another babysitter, but he knew, and she knew, he wouldn't. She told him it was okay. She would take it and she would stay on. Mary had a second job, and she was able to make do even when Joseph had no money to pay her. He was kind and honest, and she knew he would make it up to her when he could. She had come to love the children as if they were her own, a family of sorts. But her mind often wandered to Josiah. It had been love at first sight. She would never forget that night at the prom, how handsome and strong he was, sharp features and huge hands like Joseph's. She knew she could make Josiah happy, but she knew deep down she would never have that chance. This train of thought always brought tears. Would she ever have another man to love? Really, she didn't know. Top of the morning to you, my good man, Barnabas said affably. How are those cabinets coming, Joseph? I'm a little behind. Let me show you what I got done. Ooh, smooth, beautiful grain. Such quality, Barnabas said. You truly are a talented craftsman. What's it like in Egypt, Barnabas? I've always wanted to visit there, see the pyramids and all. Joseph held up one of the cabinet doors. Beautiful, Barnabas said, admiring the black lacquer sheen. Beautiful place, too, Egypt, that is. Finest furniture and cabinetry in the world sits in those markets. Right in the middle of Alexandria. Shiploads come in every day and go out just as often. Where's it all go? Joseph eyed Barnabas questionably. I hear it goes all over the world. Rome, Carthage, Damascus, even India. Wow, all the way to India, Joseph countered. I talked to one old guy down in the center of the market square in Alexandria, and he said he saw a ship leave that day for a place called China. Never heard of such a place, Joseph said. This guy said it was someplace on the other side of the world. He said they make silk there, Barnabas added. Hope that ship doesn't get lost and fall off the end of the earth, Joseph said. Yeah, what's silk? I have no idea. Some type of cloth or something, Barnabas said. I'll have to ask Mary about that. She's smart. She would know. She was top in her class. Who's Mary? Barnabas asked. My babysitter, valedictorian last year, Joseph said proudly. If you find out what silk is, Joseph, let me know. I'm always looking for new places to sell my goods. Never can make enough money with these Roman crooks around. My tax rate's up to near 50%. It's robbery, highway robbery. Barnabas' face was turning crimson. How well I know, Joseph agreed. It made him angry every time he heard the word tax, but he regained his composure. Say, Joseph, the reason I stopped by was to ask you a question. Shoot, Joseph said. How'd you like to come and work for me? Barnabas asked. No, I couldn't. Wait, just hear me out now, Barnabas interrupted. I've got 16 men working for me down in South Nazareth, but I'm having trouble keeping up with all the orders. My best cabinet guy is talking retirement. I think he'd accept early retirement if I could replace him. A lot of guys want this job, but your work is the best I've seen. It would be a steady job, 9 to 5 with benefits, 2 weeks off a year. Barnabas was about out of breath after that spiel. Are you all right? Joseph asked, noticing that Barnabas looked a little pale. Here, have a chair. Joseph sat him down on the three-legged stool. Thanks. Barnabas sat a moment, took a cup of water, then said, Think it over, Joseph. I can't hold the position open for long. My men are swamped already. Thanks for the offer. I'll think it over and I'll let you know within a week. I'd have to move the kids and all, and I'm not sure. He stopped himself. Mary couldn't move, or could she? He talked to her about it. He might not make as much money at first, but he would have steady work. He could do some moonlighting at night to supplement his income. The hardest part would be closing down his father's shop in Nazareth. Jacob's carpenter shop had been a family-owned business for nearly a century in North Nazareth. Joseph's grandfather Matan had given it to Joseph's father Jacob, who trained Joseph. But these Roman rules made everything so difficult. Maybe it was for the best that he'd take this opportunity. He'd pray about it, maybe speak to Mary. She was really his only confidant. Joseph's brother Joachim was somewhere down south. Last he heard, it was Jerusalem. Some trouble with the law. They weren't close, didn't communicate often. That night after Joseph went to bed, Mary had left for the short walk home. He couldn't sleep. He rolled and tossed, but could not relax. He felt his forehead, no fever. Stomach wasn't upset. Supper was good, but he just couldn't get to sleep. He tried to think of something. Maybe he shouldn't leave this place. He knew he could make it. He was talented. Even old Barnes said so. He was a well-respected carpenter, albeit a friendly one. Hazen, the other carpenter in town, was Joseph's enemy. He, too, is a small operation, only 6 men working for him, too small to cause any trouble for Barnabas' company, but every chance he got, Hazen would undercut Joseph's prices and badmouth him. It cost Joseph some business, but the good customers came back. When they found out how shoddily built the furniture from Hazen's shop was, people will pay for quality. Joseph knew it, and he hung in there through bad times and good, but it was increasingly hard with 3 little kids and no wife. Maybe the best thing would be to take that offer. But then again, maybe not. Finally exhausted from the work of the day in this mental battle, Joseph slipped off into dreamland. The next day he worked harder than ever trying to get caught up, but he got Barnabas' cabinet done. It was especially made for a new home up in the hills east of Nazareth. Barnabas had no one who could do that kind of work, so he subcontracted this piece. Mary had been working at her other job as a waitress in a cafe in Market Square. She got to Joseph about 5:30. The kids were hungry by now, so Mary quickly whipped up a stew and they began to chow down. As Mary was doing the dishes afterward, the kids were playing in the front yard. Joseph asked her, Mary, could you possibly stay overnight tomorrow? I've got to go down into town and some business, south of town actually. I didn't think I'll be back until morning. Sure, Joseph, that shouldn't be a problem. I don't have to work until 11. Wednesday morning at the White Dove, that should work fine. The White Dove was the name of the restaurant bordering the town square. You had better check with Sarah. I'm an adult, and Mary started. She'll be worried if she doesn't know where you are, and there is already so much talk. I know I can stay, but I'll let you know for sure tomorrow, she said. Mary, I want you to know how much I appreciate your help. Joseph said. He wanted to continue by saying he wished he could pay her better and do more for her, but they both knew he had no discretionary money. He didn't say it. He was uncomfortable with deep conversations and didn't want to start one now. She read his mind as only a woman can and said, "You are very welcome. It's a pleasure to work here." Then, reverting to the original theme of this conversation, she added, "I will let Mother know in the morning, and if you don't hear from me, plan on it." He knew her word was gold. "Good, and thank you." "Good night, Joseph," Mary said as she left. He worried about her walking through Nazareth at night. Nazareth was a tough town, and the north side was the poorest. Criminals were known to hide out in Nazareth, as the Roman patrols were few. Lighting was poor, but Mary had no trouble so far. The only good thing about Rome, Joseph thought, were the patrols.